it's time once again for this week's Let's Talk Legal, made possible by Neumann van Rooyen attorneys. And as always, we do have one of the attorneys with us here in studio. And today we do have Dries Knoetze. Dries, again, thank you for joining us.
Hi, Jessica. Thanks for the invite.
So today we are chatting a bit more about firearm renewals. Now, when must you renew your firearm license?
Thanks, Jessica. As you guys know, it's hunting season, so everybody's up in arms, literally. And it's a very important question that when you must renew your firearms. In terms of the Act, the Firearms Control Act, firearm licenses must be renewed periodically. The Act distinguishes between types of classes of firearms. So that is self-defense, which is renewable every 5 years. In that classification, you will have your handguns, your revolvers, and in some instances, your shotguns. Then you get your occupational sport shooting or hunting licenses, and then you get your dedicated sport shooting or hunting licenses. Now, what's the difference between occasional sport shooting and dedicated sport shooting? Dedicated sport shooting will be a bigger class and a bigger amount of firearms that you have in your possession than your normal occasional sport shooting.
All right. Now, what does that all mean?
Well, what is very important to take note of, it also includes your competency, which is also valid for 5 years. What is important to take note of is that if there are no firearm licenses in the same class, for that competency will also then lapse. Now that means that if you, for example, have a self-defense firearm license or a handgun, and the competency required for this license have lapsed, you do not renew this license, then your competency also need to be renewed. Thus, the competency remains valid until the last license in that class.
Now, when must your license be renewed?
All the licenses must be renewed 90 days before the date of expiry.
Now, how can this actually be done?
This is a fairly straightforward process, or ought to be a fairly straight process. You submit your application in packs to your nearest police station.
Now, what documents are required to accompany the application?
Well, the following documents are required. It's the SAP S517G form, that's your application form. It's an original certificate copy of your official identity document, your valid competency certificate, 2 numbers of clear passport-size color photos. Those photos must not be older than 3 months. Your original firearm licenses, permit, and authorization. Proof of payments required for the renewal, your receipts which you've paid prior to your application being lodged. Detailed motivationals of the use of the firearm. For example, you will have to motivate the reason why you want to renew a firearm. Your fingerprints, which is also obtainable by the SAPS. Your safe declaration with photos. That is very important. I want to stand still on that, as you must ensure that you take photos of your safe, as well as obtain a declaration that your safe is properly installed, once again, with each and every renewal. And then certified copies of your original license, the SAP 523 form and SAP 523A form.
Now, Dries, I must be honest with you. It seems like a lot of documents that need to be submitted.
Yes, it is quite a lot. And you must also note that the application must be submitted in duplicate, and you must keep an authentic copy of your application which you've submitted.
Now, why must you actually keep a copy of this?
It's very important that you keep a copy with proof that you submitted it. The reason, therefore, is that if you submit your application on time, that is 90 days before your license expires, then your license remains valid until the SAPS makes a decision on your application. Now, that normally takes longer than 90 days, resulting in the fact that you will be sitting with a license that actually lapsed. And if you cannot prove that you have submitted your application, you will be in contravention of that Act. Section 24(4) of the Firearms Control Act suspends this lapse of your license if you have applied for a renewal, which means that if you can prove that your license or that you have renewed your license, that automatic suspension is extended until the SAPS gives a decision. As I said, and I reiterate, it's very important that you keep proof of that you in fact did submit it, because it might happen that the SAP knocks at your door and sees that your license has expired, and then you will have to be able to prove that you in fact did submit your application.
All right, Dries, once again, thank you so much for joining me in studio.
Thanks a lot, Jessica. I appreciate it.
And that was this week's Let's Talk Legal, made possible by Neumann van Rooyen attorneys. Remember to check out their website at www.nvrlaw.co.za.
Bye.